Genesis P-Orridge in Coombe. And the Queen goes, oh, we know all about that person, Genesis P-Orridge, don't we? And she looks across the person from MI5 and he says, don't let him stay with this guy, he's bad news. We have a file this big on Genesis. Sleazy stayed. God bless Sleazy. But it does prove the Queen fucking hates me. And at least she knows who we are. And that made me very proud. Fuck you, Queen. Criminals. Anyway, what was the question again? It was about the book, wasn't it?
Archives.
Oh yeah, archives. You see, at school, way back in 1964 to 68, we were at a public school, which in England means a private school on a scholarship. And to avoid getting beaten up every day, we became a librarian. It meant you didn't have to go out to the playground at lunchtime. And we really got obsessed with putting everything in alphabetical order. Loved it. And we carried on doing that. When we began doing things on our own, we kept everything in filing cabinets in alphabetical order. And so by the time Scotland Yard came, there was just 2 or 3 rooms full of documentation of everything and anything we've been involved with. The saddest part of that, apart from the children, is that we'd done this event called the Final Academy, where we brought over Burroughs, and we brought Brian Gysin and John Giorno to London. And we showed their films, and we also had people like 23 Skidoo, Cabaret Voltaire, Psychic TV. It was basically a celebration of their influence and the influence of the cut-ups. I took it and destroyed it, the only copy. It's irreplaceable, it's precious, it's gone. That in itself shows you who the enemy really are. And when we met Timothy Leary years later, he said, that's why they raided your house, to get the archive, to destroy your archive. They don't know what you're doing or why you're doing it, but they know they don't like it. And he was right, because they did it to him. When he was in prison, they were trying to find out where his archive was hidden. It was hidden with somebody called Michael Horowitz. Winona Ryder's dad, as it happens. And they threatened Michael with prison and all kinds of things, but he never told them where the archive was hidden. So it's worth remembering, if you're going to start doing something that is counter to the status quo, to the nonsensus reality that we live in, bear in mind they're trying to understand why you don't do what they do. They can't get it yet. You're just different. They have to try and understand. So they do a lot of damage by accident. So hide your stuff. Because they're looking for it. I think did that answer it fine? I'm not sure. Any questions? Is it time for questions yet?
Yeah, we have 2 planned, and we'll see if we have time for the audience.
I hope we didn't spoil it for you or anything.
Larry Marshall. Ms. P-Orridge, just really a quick, small question. What sort of inspirations and influences did you find by living on both West Coast and East Coast? West Coast, California, East Coast, New York.
Wow, Oh, we've never been asked that before. It was weird. We were in Kathmandu in 1991, and we got a fax via the hotel that we were staying in, and it said, "Trouble at home, ring." That was all it said. So we rang some friends in Brighton who lived next door but two, who were also Topi people. We said, "What the hell's going on?" They said, "Your house was raided today by Scotland Yard, and they're looking for you." What we realised as we heard that was that we were meant to be home that day. But my now ex-wife said, "You like it here, don't you, Jan, in Kathmandu?" We said, "Yeah, we do." She said, "Let's not go back." So they raided the house the day we were meant to be back. But we weren't there because she said, "Let's not go back." We were sitting in the room in this hotel thinking, this is so strange. I mean, having your own government after you, it's pretty scary and weird. So we were sitting there thinking, wow. And then we looked and we noticed in my suitcase was a brown envelope. And we remembered that when we left England, we just stuffed all the mail that was in front of the door in this envelope and went to Kathmandu. And we'd been there for about 6 months and never thought about it. But when you're in a state of shock, you sometimes do things you don't remember at the time. So we started looking through this envelope. Most of it was electricity bills and final demands on credit cards and stuff. And then there was one envelope that the address on it on the outside said, Michael Horowitz, Petaluma, Sonoma County, California. So we opened it in a kind of trance, pulled out this postcard, and it said, "We were in London with Minona, and we went to Dingwall's in Camden, and we saw you and Psychic TV play. And it was the most psychedelic thing we've seen since the acid test in '66. So we thought, well, that's good, thank you. And then it said, if you ever need a refuge, call this number. And of course, so we went back into Kathmandu, and we rang the number and we said, hey, Michael, we need a refuge, we can't go home. He said, okay, just get to San Francisco and we'll meet you. So we then rang up Wax Tracks, which was our label in America, and said, we need tickets to California one way. And they said, okay, no problem. So they bought us tickets and we went to California. And for about 4 months we lived in Winona Ryder's old bedroom. She actually came back a couple of times and babysat my children, which they're still proud of to this day. And then we finally found a place to rent up in the wilderness in the northern California, in a place called Cazadero, which we're told means where the wild things are. And we had 10 acres and redwood trees and a beautiful house and a big creek and waterfalls and a swimming hole and everything. So we settled in there. And then somebody knocked on the door one day, and it was these ravers. And they said, we brought you some pharmaceutical MDMA. Sure. And we want to do a rave to raise money for you to pay your rent. Thank you. And that's what happened. So people started looking after us. It was amazing. We had no idea they even knew who we were. And that was the positive side of California. And then after about 2 years we met Jay. She moved to California to take care of me because we'd fallen out of the burning former mansion of Harry Houdini that burned down, owned by Rick Rubin. It's a long story. But the bottom line was she came to look after me because she was a registered nurse. And then we got married on Friday the 13th of June. And after a little while she said, how much do you like California? I said, nah, I don't know. She said, they're a bit fake, aren't they? What do you mean? She said, well, they'll smile at you and do nothing to help. I said, well, some of them have. Yeah, but they're English. And it was true. They were from England. They were called Mr. Floppy's Flop House. And then the people who did the full move, they were all English people that were doing the raves. And then we thought, you know, and then we met people and we thought, yeah, you know what? They're all smiles, but they don't do anything except smoke fucking pot. Nah, that's not very interesting. Because we're doers, you know. So, after the 3 years in California, Jay said, I can't stand it here any longer. They're so fake. They smile and you know they don't mean a word they say. So we left. So that was our experience of California. Fake. Not unpleasant, nice. Just nothing really happened, you know. They took a lot of drugs. They had a lot of drugs. A lot of drugs. But that's why nobody did anything. See, that's the problem with those things, is that people dream about what they're going to do. They write down all these things they've thought of. Oh yeah, God is really an orange. Yeah. And then they forget in the morning. Why did we write about an orange yesterday? That's California. So Jay said, fuck this, let's go to New York. And we went, I don't want to live in New York, I always call it the toilet of Europe. Everybody Europe doesn't want is flushed into New York. Kind of true. But we couldn't not be with Jay, so we said, all right. We moved into her grandmother's house. And we discovered people did things. Yes, we are all neurotic in New York, but we don't stop moving. And we're always doing something and organizing something. Things actually happen. You've got to be tough, because you spend most of your life paying the rent. But if you can do that, it's really rewarding. And we've been so lucky with the people we've met in New York. The gallery that we work with is run by somebody who was one of our interns. My manager is somebody who was one of my interns. People who do our Facebook page is one of my interns. I don't do anything anymore. Just have interns that become people. That's New York, you see. People become people there. That's the difference. And why are we here? Because we live in New York. We wouldn't have done all the things we've done without Jay. And she was born in New York. And it's a good place if you're really tough. If you're not tough, don't go. But if you're tough, it's great. But it seems like it's kind of good here too. We're kind of growing to like this town. And we've only been here 8 hours. God bless. Where are we again?
Divine Providence.
God bless Providence. Because it provides things for you. Right? Yes, Bert. Is it Bert you work here over there, born in the same year as me? He's younger than me. I'm older than Bert. And on that happy note, what else? Oh, there's one more question.
Emotional.
Hi.
No, we're not, but we'd like to be. Are you?
What?
Hi.
Hi.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Yes?
A round of applause for the high woman.
I've always taken great heart by the way that you've continuously pursued untapped social potentials through collaboration and building of experimental relational forms, starting with communes in the 60s and continuing through you and Lady J's merging. So I was hoping you would talk to us a little bit about what you've learned about the possibilities and difficulties of relationships, and if there are any limits that you think are productive. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. Well, we've always collaborated with people right from the very beginning. You know, it's a cliche, but it's true. Several heads are better than one. And we never thought that the artist was supposed to be this inviolate, divinely inspired individual who knows something nobody else knows. To me, that's just BS. You know, we're here to learn from each other, not tell each other. So we're always looking for and trying to recognize people who are prepared to take a risk in terms of not taking the safe way out in life. Did you include personal relationships? Yes? Okay, we thought so. It was weird. We were 41 when we met, no, 43 when we met Lady J. And we thought that we were always going to be this kind of altruistic loner that never ever received something back equal to what we were trying to give. And then we met this person that was incredible. The most fearless being we've met ever. And as you know, we've worked with a lot of amazing people, but the first time we met, some people probably know this story and we apologize. We'd been to New York. We used to go there when we were depressed. We were going through this unpleasant divorce. We were the sole parent of 2 children. And so when we got a weekend off, we'd go to New York and take a load of drugs and stay up all the time. We'd go to Jackie 60, which in that era was one of the best places to go in New York. And this particular weekend, we'd been awake for 3 days on really, really high quality MDMA. I remember looking in the mirror and thinking, my God, my eyes are so red. There was no white left, bright red. We thought, like Dracula. Wow. And my friend Terence, she ran a dungeon. It was a business to finance writing books. She was a good friend of Kathy Acker. Kathy Acker did peep shows. So there are a lot of women artists and writers in New York who were in the sex industry in order to give them the freedom to do what they really wanted. And she had an apartment next to this dungeon that she had. So we would go and sleep in the dungeon. This particular afternoon we came back and we went in and she was already asleep. So we just went in the dungeon, lay down on the floor amongst all the chains and the torture tables and the whips and fell fast asleep. And then something woke me up the next day. And we were still in the dark, but we saw this doorway, and it was, the room beyond was lit up. As we looked at the doorway, this tall, slim woman, all in 60s clothes, with a Brian Jones bob, walked past with a cigarette, like that. She went back and forth, and she was talking to somebody in the other room who we couldn't see. And then she started to get undressed as she was going back and forth. This is great. Then she started to put on rubber and leather fetish clothing. This is really great. Wow. And then out of the blue, and to this day we don't know why, because we'd never done it before or since, we found that we were saying out loud, "Dear universe, if we can be with this woman for the rest of my life, that's all I want." And we had no idea who it was. She was talking to somebody we couldn't see, who was saying, "Don't go in there, he's bad news. He's a really weird artist from England, a friend of Terence's, and he's such bad news. Don't go in." And Jay's thinking, I want to go and meet this person. So we came out of the dungeon and she was still there, dressed all fetish. And she said, "Do you want to go out tonight?" "Yeah." "Do you want to go to a slave auction?" "Sure, why not?" And she said, "All right, I'll meet you, I'll bring a taxi and I'll pick you up." So she did, and she was in skin-tight leather from her 5-inch heels to the neck. I thought, oh, this is good. But she's too beautiful for someone like me. But she said, "Let's go to this thing." It was called Paddles. They were having a slave auction, which meant different slaves were getting on stage and people bid money, and they could have them for 24 hours and do anything they wanted to them. And we thought, this is a bit naff. But we was, well, she's nice. We stood there talking, smoking her cigarette, and then we had to look down. And we realized that there was a naked man on the floor, laid out with his arm like this, and she had a 5-inch heel grinding into the back of his hand. And she'd been doing that all the time we were talking. I was saying, my kind of woman. Fucking yeah. And that was it. We were together from that day. And we thought we'd known things, we thought we'd learned things, we thought we'd thought things. And we'd hung out with all these amazing people. But we can honestly say to you that Lady J is and was the most remarkable human being we ever met. And she changed all of my life. She made me understand things that we hadn't considered. Mortality, unconditional love, absolute surrender to an idea, fearlessness. And we count ourselves so lucky that we've met that person and that she's informed our life so much that we probably wouldn't be here today without Lady J. We really wouldn't. You know how you read about people and they go, well, I thought I knew something and then I realized I don't know anything. It was a bit like that. It was a religious experience. Certainly a spiritual one. And that's why you should never close doors. Never make assumptions about people. You never know who's going to be the person who has the information you need next. And you have to take those moments and try and understand, what am I being told in this situation? A lot of that is about language. All of us, including me, everybody, all of us talk in précis. You'll be talking to somebody and they'll say, what did you think about? You go, oh, I really thought it was interesting. Which means, I didn't like it at all, but I'm not going to tell you because I don't want to hurt your feelings. But we don't say that. We say, oh, it was interesting. all of us tend to talk in tiny fragments of what we really think. The dialogue in our head is totally different to what comes out of our mouth. And if all of you could go away and just start saying what you really think in detail, everything could change in amazing ways. That's what we learned from Jay. Don't say what you want people to hear. Say what you really mean, no matter how afraid you are of doing it. Don't be afraid of your truth. Listen in here first and think, what am I really saying before I speak? Why am I afraid of saying all of what I'm thinking? And usually it's because you don't want to be hurt. Or sometimes you don't want to hurt somebody else. But even that is really that you don't want to be hurt. But if you start editing your truth, where are you going to go? We'd like to leave you with that thought. Thank you for coming, Ira. And thank you to the class. And all your questions. It's all right, we're not going to read anymore, we're just looking at them. The universe appears to begin to increase the odds of what you want to have. Yes, it does.
The answer is true.
Yes, it's true, very true.
High heel shoes.
Yes, we have some. Please thank our two friends. Without the trigger, we couldn't do this.
Thank you, Genesis and Tabitha, Eli, Scott, all of you, for coming here and being a part of this conversation. The Free Culture Award will be presented to both Genesis and Ian tomorrow at 7 o'clock at Food Fest. Hope to see you there.
Apparently Psychic TV are playing at midnight.
Yes.